Hello again, I thank you for stopping by for my latest video. Today I will be talking about a really awesome free open source tool called Spectacle. And here on my screen you can see what I will be talking about in this video. The Spectacle tool can be used to do several different things, like making fun, cool, and useful presentations that can be hosted in the cloud and just not on your local computer. You can create slides very easily once you get things set up. It's kind of like PowerPoint slides, except it can be done on the web. And you can also have the ability to live demo your React code, host it for free, and much more. So here you can see the blocks that I will be covering. We'll do a quick review of the free Spectacle open source tool, and then look at a few documents that I find helpful, how to get it installed and up and running locally first on the machine. I'll do a very quick review of the DevOps tools that I have installed on this machine. It is a Windows machine and Windows 10, and also the Github integration, Vercel integration, so I can host it and run it in the cloud, and show how it has a built-in presentation mode, which is pretty cool if you have multiple monitors while you're giving the presentation, if it was going to be local. Otherwise, you could also run the print mode, which turns it into like a black and white mode in order to make it easier to print. So that is what we will be talking about in this video. If you're interested, stick around, and again, I thank you for stopping by, watching, and subscribing to my videos. Let's go ahead. I have a bunch of tabs open here and take a look at the next tab. This is the Spectacle homepage, documentation. Here you can see a React.js based library for creating sleek presentations using JSX syntax that gives you the ability to live demo your code. You can see right here how to install it, npm install Spectacle. And if we scroll down just a little bit, we can see some of the main features here. Interactive presentations, which you could use for all kinds of different things. Add clickable elements and other interactivity to make your presentations pop. Live preview your code. Show people more than just a code block demo, the final project in real time without leaving your presentation deck. Polish off your presentation with auto formatting, easy theming, image dimming, and other fun touches available out of the box. And some of those things we will take a look at. I have it up and running on this machine. And so here is a preview of some of the other features I may not have mentioned. You can do custom backgrounds, show code blocks, auto size and scroll when there's an overflow of content, animated elements. You can animate them when they come in. Single size and different grid sizes. You can do layout of tables of information, markdowns, and many other things. If we pop over to their documentation, right here is a link, and we can see how to install it. If we scroll down to getting started, the way that I did it for this project was this option here. I did npx create next app at latest, and then I went ahead and did the npm add spectacle, and then I created a deck.tsx file inside the app directory, and then I added the following spectacle starter. I actually added a lot more than that just to make a sample interview presentation. And so if we go over to my code here, we can see here on the right side, this is the deck.tsx file that they mentioned. And we'll get into this in a little bit more detail momentarily, but I just wanted to mention the code is up and running here on this local machine. Now they do have other options, many other options actually, if you go through the documentation, but we're just going to go ahead and take this approach and look at it from that viewpoint. They have a CLI. They have this option 4 using one page, like a single self-contained HTML file. It just really depends on what you're looking for. I'll quickly point out a few other things here in their documentation. The API reference, the base props, there's a lot of those. Backgrounds, colors, spacing, typography, layouts, flex, grid, position. A lot of different options here. And then your slide layouts, there's some information here about doing slide layouts like full or slide layout center, slide layout 2 columns, slide layouts in different arrangements like a section, slide layout statement, and there's a lot more. The list goes on. They also support themes, which is nice if you want to customize your own theme. I didn't do that for my example at this point, but I may come back in a separate video to do some of these other more detailed things. So that's a quick overview of the documentation. Let's move on. I mentioned in the flowchart about a presentation mode. Right here, there's a short blurb about the Spectacle product, that it comes with a built-in presenter mode. If you've used PowerPoint slides, you know you can have like a presenter mode. This allows you, if you're doing this on a local machine that has say 2 monitors, or you're projecting it up onto a projector screen for like a presentation or something, you can open this presenter mode, and I'll show that running here in just a moment. So it's nice that that's built in. There's also a print mode, so if you want to be able to print it in like black and white and not have extra colors and things, to save printer ink. I will point out the GitHub, and I'll include a link to it in the description. It's github.com/formidablelabs/spectacle. And here you can see they say it is a React-based library for creating sleek presentations using JSX syntax that gives you the ability to live demo your code. So we can scroll down just a little bit and see how many people are using it and the number of contributors. And how, if you wanted to contribute to it, you can do that. It is under active development. They say that right here. Maintenance status is active. Formidable is actively working on this project, and they expect to continue work for the foreseeable future. Bug reports, feature requests, and pull requests are welcome. So there's the GitHub page for that. They also have additional information here on the GitHub Formidable Labs/Spectacle. They have basic concepts, writing your presentation, how you can use Markdown, JSX, single HTML page. There's also examples, like if I click here in the left, we can go into each folder and see there's JS examples here. And other type of examples, as they mentioned, MD, MDX, and one page. So some good useful information there. I've also deployed it into a GitHub account that I use for making YouTube videos. So that's where the code is at now. And I will be setting it up here momentarily to run in Vercel so that we can see it running out on the internet. And this is the Vercel where I'm logged in, and I will go ahead and get that deployed out here momentarily. So back to my flowchart, we will take a look real quickly at the list of tools that I have installed in this machine in case you wanted to follow along. Everything is free, and I have Git and the GitHub CLI, and there were several additional pieces that were installed automatically when I installed the VS Code program. You see some of those here, like these files, Visual C++, and I have VS Code installed, and that installed this Microsoft Visual Studio installer, the Windows Software Development, Windows SDK add-on, Visual Studio build tools. Some of those are related to Python, and then I installed the node tools. So that's basically what is installed on this machine. Well, let's go ahead and pull up the code and take a look at the running program here and see it in action. Here I've pulled up the code, and this is the deck.tsx file. As they said, you need to create that, and then as you create each slide, you put it inside the slide tags, and then there's like different values that you can set, like the heading, and if you want text inside of them. So as you make new slides, it's really easy. You just go ahead and fill in the information that you need. In their documentation, there's a ton of other things you can do to configure your slides. I'm not going to go into all of them for this initial presentation, but I just wanted to show the slides that I created, and then it'll make sense when you see them in the running application. Also, here is one called the code pane. So that's a component to display information that you put inside here. So that's basically what it looks like. I'm also in the process of laying out a way to add these slides interactively from like an input screen, but I can talk about that in a later video. And if we look at the package.json, you can see what's installed here and how I ran it. You can see the command down here in my command window, npm run dev. That runs it in localhost 3000. And then here you can see the dependencies. One of them is Spectacle, and I mentioned that earlier, the command to get that installed. And you see a few dev dependencies. So that's basically what the package.json looks like, how I have it up and running, and also how you create your slides. Now I'm going to pause for a moment and pull up the web browser so we can see it running. I will also pull up the presentation mode. And if you just imagine you have 2 or more monitors hooked up, whether it's an overhead projector or just 2 monitors, we'll be looking at how that works. Here I left the code running with the first slide, so you can see that background color. I fed in the value of being blue just for that. And then you can see the other properties here, the heading and the text, so you can see how that shows up there in the slide. So that's how the slides look. Now let's see it work. If you only had the one window open where you had your presentation that you wanted to give, you could just use the left and right arrows. There's also a full screen button here that you can click on. I'm not going to click on that at this point, but it's pretty nice if you want to have it be full screen. So I'll just use the left arrow button to go through the slides, and you can see there's like a little Pac-Man guy down there that goes through the slides forward and backwards. That's the code pane component. And so the idea was to have a set of interview questions that someone could take a look at, whether you were sharing your screen or you could send them a URL, like if it was running on Vercel, and they could take a look at whatever your presentation was. In this case, it's just like IT questions to discuss in an interview process, as one example of many. Let's go back to the first screen. You can also just click on the individual slides if you want to. That's another way to navigate. So So now I'm using the left and right arrow keys inside of the presentation mode. That's right here. Let me actually expand this window for a second so you can see. This is what the URL looks like. So up here in the web browser address bar, you can see there is a value called presenter mode equal true. And so once that's set to true, then you can use this left side presentation mode to say you had it on one monitor that you were looking at, and then this other web browser was up on a separate like projector on a wall or screen or whatever. This slide was actually Technobabble Humor by ChatGPT. I asked it, ChatGPT, to give me some funny technobabble, and that's where that came from. And so here I'm just clicking through the slides on the presentation mode or presenter mode. I really like this tool. I see a lot of uses for it. And it's free and it's open source. And there is a demo of it working. Let's go ahead and now get it deployed into the Vercel cloud and see how DevOps can work with the GitHub integration as I make changes, or I will make one change at least, and then we'll watch and see how Vercel automatically does the DevOps for us and upgrades it and runs it for us. This is the GitHub page, and it's called Discussions. So we'll go over to the Vercel dashboard, and I'm going to click Add New and say New Project. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this just a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and pick the discussions and say import. And it asks us some questions about the project. So I will go ahead and click through these, and then we'll get it deployed. Because it's a simple application and there's no environment variables, we don't need to go down and set any of those now. Let's go ahead and click deploy. And here we can see the deployment started. And if I expand this building, we will see how it is cloning it and working on it. So I'll be back in a moment when it's finished. Here we can see it's making more progress on building things out. And it automatically went to the congratulations page. You just deployed a new project to Vercel. So you saw I only had to literally click a couple buttons, and it's integrated with the GitHub repository of code. And it also gives you a preview, which is nice, so you know it's up and running and is looking the way that you expect it. Now we'll go ahead and move to the preview of the application. I'll click on Continue to Dashboard, and we'll go from there. I clicked on the Settings tab up here at the top to show the domains so we can see what the URL for this is: discussions sigma vercel.app. Let's go ahead and click on that and pull up the application. So there it is, running live on the internet. You can see the URL up there, and I can start clicking through the slides and send out the URL to someone else who needed to see this presentation. Again, there's a lot more cool features you can use when you're formatting all your slides and animations and things. One other thing I mentioned was making changes to the code and pushing it out to GitHub, and then showing how Vercel automatically does the DevOps integration with that, I will go ahead and show that now. Let's open up the code and we'll change this to just 2024. And then I'll go ahead and save that. It knows that I made a change, so I'll say make it 2024. I'll go ahead and commit that. And then we'll go ahead and sync the changes. It's finished there. So the GitHub has been updated. Let's take a look at it over here. We'll hit refresh. Here we can see the make it 2024. And there we can see the change that I made. And let's go back to the Vercel dashboard now. Click on project. And here we can see it's already run. We can see that it created it 45 seconds ago. And it knows that we made the change. We can see the commit here, make it 2024, just like I said. And let's go ahead and run it and make sure that it says that it should be done building. Looks like it's ready now. Let's hit refresh. So I went back to the first slide, and here we can see it does say 2024, just like what we said. So there is the DevOps integration in Vercel and how easy it makes it. I really like using the Vercel tool, of course, and GitHub and how they work together. I just wanted to walk through the whole process of getting this tool up and running and showing a particular use for it. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you find this tool useful in your future. A quick final review. We looked at the free Spectacle open source tool, some documentation, how to get it installed and running locally on our machine, what DevOps tools that I'm using, the GitHub integration, the Vercel integration, and how we could use the presentation mode and print mode, which I guess I didn't show that, so let's pop over there for 1 second. So in the URL there is a parameter called export mode equals true and print mode equals true, and so here you can see I can just scroll down through these slides so that I could print it off if that was necessary. Well, with that said, that's the end of the video. Again, I thank you for stopping by and taking a look. I'll talk to you later. If you like this channel, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content.